real you.
What's up guys, it's Widgeon TV here. Today on Destiny in Depth, I'm going to be reviewing two of the most powerful perks in Destiny. And on a smaller scale, we're going to be reviewing two of the best weapons in Destiny. The two perks are Timed Payload and Explosive Payload on the True Prophecy and Better Devils. I have been making explosive rounds videos since the beginning of my channel, and so I'm really excited for you guys to see this video. And I have a lot of great information in it, so make sure to stick around until the end. So let's jump into this. The True Prophecy is a hand cannon from Future Workhole, and the Better Devils can be obtained through the Crucible, along with other sources. These guns both look exactly the same other than their paint jobs. And on top of that, obviously they have very similar perks. True Prophecy with Timed Payload, and Better Devils with Explosive Payload. In theory, they are both very similar. They make your shot explode, causing your damage to be spread out over an area of effect. As you can see here, explosive rounds detonates immediately. As soon as you shoot the weapon, there's an explosion at the point of impact. But when we move over here to the True Prophecy, as you can see, there is a clear delay, and my immediate question was, how long was that delay? And well, I have some numbers for you. I counted it to be 7 frames, and through some shoddy conversion that I think I did correctly, that came out to be 230 milliseconds. And obviously, since there is a delay between the time that you shoot and the time that the weapon does its full damage, there are some concerns about time to kill and trading when you're playing in the Crucible. But in practice, I didn't find this to be true. At least personally, I don't think I traded more often than I would if I was using a different weapon. And I think that's due to the fact that 230 milliseconds is very fast. I think that number is really bordering on unacceptable. I think if that delay was any higher, this gun would be immediately thrown away to anybody who wanted to use it in the Crucible. But as of right now, I think it is still viable to use in the Crucible, but I'll be talking about that more later in the video. Next up, let's talk about damage. So if you're a Destiny veteran at all, you'll know the magic of explosive rounds, or in Destiny 2, explosive payload, on how it drastically increases damage, and all sorts of other wonderful abilities. I crowned explosive rounds to be the best weapon perk in Destiny 1 by far. And it's that explosive rounds are amazing. I'm not a very definitive person, but I know this for sure. If you use a hand cannon or a scout rifle as your main PvE weapon, and it doesn't have explosive rounds on it, then you're doing it wrong. Explosive rounds is by far the best weapon perk in Destiny. And one of the biggest reasons for this was because of the damage. So let's compare Timed Payload and Explosive Payload's damage. Now this brings up another question. How do you compare two weapons that have different impact? Well, I got around this by using percentage instead of raw damage numbers. I'll be comparing True Prophecy with the Probina D. The Probina D has the exact same impact as the True Prophecy, but without the Timed Payload. And I'll be doing the same with Better Devils and the Old Fashioned. So let's start with explosive rounds. So as you can see here, the Old Fashioned does 98 damage without explosive rounds. And for this test, I'm going to be exclusively shooting this Captain's Shield. When we move over to Better Devils, you can see that it does 147 damage. Better Devils does 150% of its base damage. A huge increase. Now, if you want to know more about explosive rounds, make sure to stay tuned to my channel, because I'm going to be doing a completely separate video on explosive rounds that will be coming out here pretty soon. So anyway, keep that number in mind, 150%. Now let's go over to True Prophecy and Timed Payload. As you can see here, the Probina D does 102 damage. Slightly more than the Old Fashioned, but like I said, these weapons have different impact. So when we move on to the True Prophecy, we can see that it's doing 133 damage, which is an increase over the stock Probina D, but it does not match the percentage increase that explosive rounds gave Better Devils. As you can see, it only does 130% of its base damage, which like I said is good, but it's not as good as explosive rounds. So like I said, I think damage is the most important part of these two perks, and since explosive rounds beats Timed Payload by 20%, you know who gets my vote for PvE content. But that is a very important note. There is no extra damage given by these two perks in PvP, so keep that in mind as we go into the next section. And the next section is Flinch. So again, in Destiny 1, explosive rounds was notorious for causing extra flinch in the Crucible, and it was another awesome reason to be using explosive rounds. Well, that still holds true in Destiny 2. Explosive rounds still does cause extra flinch, but so does Timed Payload. And Timed Payload does something very interesting. Timed Payload's delay actually causes double flinch. That's That's right, you can get 2 flinches for every time you shoot somebody. Once for the impact of the bullet, and another for the explosion. Which means if you shoot somebody in the head 3 times with True Prophecy, first off, you'll get a kill, which is great, but they will not be able to shoot you back very well, because they will be flinching 6 times, which is obviously great for a weapon that kills in 3. Now, the tests I'm about to show you are conducted in patrol mode, and they are not perfectly representative of what's going to happen in the Crucible, but since they removed private matches from Destiny 2, this is the best that I could do. So this is what it looks like to be shot by a normal hand cannon, without explosive rounds and without timed payload. Pretty standard stuff. And next we move on to explosive rounds, and as you can see, there is a very bright flash that obstructs your view for a second, and this is still a very big positive in the Crucible, and one of the reasons why Better Devils is such a great weapon. But now when we look at True Prophecy, as you can see, there is double flinch, along with a dimmer but still substantial light blast, and this is very powerful in the Crucible. But unfortunately, True Prophecy is not the best archetype for the Crucible right now, so let's hope we see timed payload on different hand cannons in the future. But anyway, let me wrap this up. I think True Prophecy is an awesome weapon, and next faction rally you should make it a point to get this weapon from Future Workhult and give it a shot in PvE and PvP. But as of right now, I think its best home is in the Crucible, so I'm going to give timed payload the win in PvP. But when it comes down to pure damage, I think Better Devils and explosive rounds is going to be the gun to go to every single time, and that's why I give explosive rounds the win for PvE. Alright, that's all I have on explosive rounds and timed payload. First off, I wanted to thank the guys that helped me with this. It's a group of streamers and YouTubers that help struggling Guardians get through the Nightfall and Trials. They're called the Diamond Division. Definitely go check out their content if you need a carry. But anyway, I really hope everybody enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and consider subscribing. It really helps out my small channel. And even consider following me on Twitter. It's the best place for me to keep in contact with you guys. But anyway, this has been Widgeon TV. Thanks for watching, guys.
The real you.